Okay, welcome everybody. Tonight we wanted to share our stories on breaking cycles, stories of strength and recovery, confronting stigma, stories of hope, everything like that. Because I feel like we need to share our stories. We need to get that awareness out there. We need to share our stories for people. Um, like anybody could take something away from it and apply it to themselves. And I think these are really important things that we need to get out there because there's so many people in struggles this day and age in our community. And it's just something that we need to do. And I got this idea actually from a while back. We had a panel in Lloydminster with the residents and recovery crew, and it was really good. I really liked it, and I think that we were able to get a message out there, a message of hope, and that's kind of what we want to do today. So we're gonna have we're gonna share. There's six, seven of us. One is gonna be late on his way, but we're gonna share maybe about 8 to 10 minutes or something like that, and then we're gonna have some supper, and then after the supper, I think we'll open up the floor for some Q&A. So don't be afraid to ask the questions that you're really feeling, because those questions that you're feeling, if they're suppressed, then nobody's ever going to know, or it's never going to come to light. So with that, I think we'll start. I think I'll start since I'm already up here. Hey. Okay, so my story started way back, probably, oh man, it was years ago. 15 years ago, maybe more than that, 20 years ago. Started with addiction, going into addiction and being peer pressured, maybe not even peer pressured, but I wanted to go hang out with my friends. And then that addiction started. The addiction started and it kept going, and it went for years. And then being in a common law relationship, having an addict as another, well, the other person in my relationship was an addict as well, and then coming through all of that, what really hurt me and caused my downfall, like a really big hurt, was a breakup. You know, it's a lot of things. There's a lot of different types of things that could potentially make a person fall, and mine was a breakup. And it hurt me a lot. It hurt me a lot, you know, not being around who I was always around, not being able to, well, I guess I take responsibility on not putting that effort into going out to go and see my kids. But that alone right there, it was like there was a real big emptiness that I felt, which led to more and more and more. But I just kept hurting myself. Not only myself, but everybody that, everybody that missed me. And I was gone for a while, 6 years or something like that, 7 years, maybe even 8, where I was just distanced from everybody, not a care in the world, didn't care what I was doing, getting into trouble, going in and out of jail, going to jail, getting healthy, coming out, and then getting unhealthy again. And that's the way I went for years. And then coming out of it, being able to live in a place, the transitional home, there's a support which I'm really thankful for. Being able to stay in that place and get a start on changing my life around was a really good support for me. From that place, I went into rehab, and then I went into residence and recovery for a short while, I think 6 weeks or something like that. But in that 6 weeks, I learned so much, and I met so many different people that really become a part of my life, become a part of who I am and helped me understand where I was and what I needed to do. So like that support right there, it helped me move on, move forward, and then it gave me so many different tools with like words of encouragement, words of wisdom, and people that done it and changed their life, and hearing their stories, I was able to take from them and apply it to myself. So like with all of that now and coming to where I am, getting to where I am now, the next part would have been being afraid of going out into public again. You know, that was the next step for me. Being afraid of going out into public, into this room. This room right here had lots to do with it, going into meetings that were held in this room. Because I didn't know what people thought of me. And in my mind, it was like everybody that turned aside and whispered into the next person's ear. I could see that from a distance, and I was thinking, man, they're talking about me. They're talking about me. That's what I was thinking. But here, who knows what they were talking about? They were probably talking about, you know, how much they won at the bingo or something like 2 weeks ago, you know? But you know, like, that was my thought, because that was all in my head. It was me that was making myself think like that. And then being able to overcome that, what I did was I kept on attending places like that. I kept going to these places where it was public. That was the way I came out of that shell. And if I didn't go into those public places, who knows where I would have been. I probably would have went and put up another barrier to keep myself out of places like that. And going into those places like that, it gave me a little more confidence, a little bit at a time. And then I'm finally, you know, a couple years later, I'm up here speaking in front of the public, out here speaking to the crowd, to the viewers out there on 7Gen, on live, right? So it's like, I gained so much confidence and being able to speak in front of people, trying to give people hope, because like there's change that's possible. And I want to be like a face of that, right? So that's kind of like my story in a nutshell and stuff like that. But like, yeah, that's the biggest message I want to share is like, you know, there's hope for change. And I want to be an example of it. And that's one of the reasons why like I do what I do. I became employed with OLCN 7th Gen. And at the beginning it was just a pilot. Like we didn't know what it was going to turn into. I didn't know that we would be doing anything like this, you know, a year ago. But now it's, you know, it's here, and we're doing stuff. Like we want to make that step forward, and there's so many things that I'm so grateful for. I'm so grateful for culture, because like without the culture, me getting into the culture, seeing my peers in the culture, like Randall here, like I wanted to get there. And it was a lot of hard work, and you know, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm doing my best. I know I still have some downfalls, but you know, it's a work in progress. Nobody's perfect, and to get that out there, nobody's perfect. It's like I'm me, and I can only do my best. And with that, I want to thank you all for listening to me, a little bit of my story. And I'll pass it on to young Tyler here. You wanna say a few words? Share? You're going second. I went first.
Hi, kananaskum kungka kiupeto teuta. You know, my name's Tyler Mutswidis. You know, I moved away from the community for about 15 years. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was having to want change, wanting to better yourself, right? back in the day when I used to, it was so hard to find employment out here in Onion Lake, and I just wanted something on paper, right? But unfortunately, nobody would hire me. You know, nobody would hire me. I couldn't find no employment anywhere in Onion Lake. You know, trying to be gas jockey, whatnot. But I wanted something steady. But because I couldn't find that, all I could find was having to deal drugs, and just to make income. But income for who, right? You know, I had kids that I couldn't see. I was selling in 3 different reserves where I was able to see my kids, you know, just to go reload up people and come back. And it was kind of sad, right? I shouldn't have to live that life like that. And one day I was sitting at the window or standing by the window, and I was thinking to myself, you know, I know that there's something better than this. I want honest money, I want an education. And I kept saying this to myself, you know, when I was home alone in a big house, you know, I didn't trust nobody, I didn't have no friends, I didn't want no friends. Because when you're dealing with drugs, right, all people want is either money or drugs. So as my kids started getting older, and I started to realize, you know, people were selling me stuff, and I said, okay, yeah, I'll take this, I'll take that, yeah, I'll buy that, I'll buy this. And I started looking at my kids. My kids had everything, but I started to realize, you know, look at, you know, all this stuff my kids have, these belong to other kids, and I affected the parents, you know. The parents gone through their addiction and they're starting to sell their stuff and their kids' stuff. Not only that, you know, like I had family visiting, and what hurt the most was my younger brother. When customers left, and then all of a sudden I seen my little brother, my baby brother. All of a sudden he's on the ground, looking on the ground, you know, like people jonesing, looking for crack or whatnot, drugs, right? You know, that broke my heart. So I had to make a decision fast. So what I done was I looked towards one of my uncles I looked up to, and I don't know how things worked out the way they did, but he just happened to come to Onion Lake during that weekend, and I spent a couple days with him. And then he told me about all of his problems and everything that, you know, like what we're going through here now, right? So what I did was I took him to that person that affected him in his life, right? To speak to him, right? Sure enough, we did that, you know, like then I told him I'm done. I want to leave. So I was pretty much done with Onion Lake and selling drugs, right? Because I knew there was something better out there. And when I left Onion Lake, my uncle went back home because I didn't like him when he came back this way. He was in an argument, right, with his wife. But I just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to leave. You know, I decided, like, you know, like he was a married man, so take him back home, go back home with him. But, you know, like, me and my uncle, we bonded a lot, you know, we talked a lot. And he's like, you know what, Tyler, you're the brother that I never had, you know, because when I known my uncle, the times I know my uncle, he was never around. You know, he was always in the system, stuck in the system. But I moved away and I wrote down on a piece of paper a plan, you know, like everything I wanted. I want an honest paying job. I want honest money. I want an education. And, you know, I want my license. No, at the very bottom, I wrote down I want my license. And without even me knowing it, I was knocking down those, checking off those, the action plan is what we called it, knocking them down right straight to the bottom where until I got my grade 12. And I noticed I was at the bottom of the list where I had my license. And doing your grade 10 and 11 out in the city, it's more like you have to have patience because there's a long period of time, right? One whole school year for grade 10 and then 11 a whole year, 11 and 12 were a whole year, but then 5 to 9 was another full year, so it was pretty much 3-year process. I was short on credits, but I took the evening classes. I took it back on myself to do evening classes over the summers. But I don't think a lot of people knew what I was going through out in Prince Albert, but what my idea was like, how am I gonna get to my kids? How am I gonna like get things across to my kids and my siblings? And the only way to do that was to do it myself, so they can observe and look at me and see their big brother or uncle, right, doing it, or their dad, right? And now to this day, I have my 2 older sons, you know, like my son, he graduated grade 12. But when I was getting more visits with them, he was able to see what I was going through in the city. He seen me like driving him around, and he started knowing the routes of the city, right? He's like, Dad, when we go this way, when we go this way. Like, he's just a young kid. But now he's 21, and, you know, he's well educated. He has his own vehicle. He was a better man than I was to this day, right? It's something every father wants, right? Their child to become a better man than they were. And I love that, you know, like one of the things I told my kids every Fridays at the end of the week, I asked them how was school, right? But at the same time, you know, I'd question them about school, and then I'd always tell them, you know, my son, I love you guys, when it was time to say later, right? So doing that for until they were teenagers, and I don't know, it was tough. It was tough for me when I was out there in the city trying to get my employment or my education. But having to pursue my education and have to be employed part-time, it was hard on me. I did a lot of walking, and I was a cheap guy. I never took the buses or a cab. And time's up. Just kidding. No, but that's one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted my children and my siblings to see what I was doing and how far I've gone, and if I could do it, they can do it. When I left Onion Lake, I left so suddenly, and when I came back, everything was so different. Everything wasn't the way it used to be. Like, everything was downhill. But since 2017 coming back, I remember I'd never been prayed for, right? And when I moved back, I had a loss, a fatal loss as I was going to school doing my heavy equipment mechanics. I was 5 months into the program. It was a two-year course that they put into 8 months. And that was a lot of studying, but I loved it. I loved the reading and writing. But I managed to stay until 5 months. So first is some first year and second year apprentice certificates is what I hold. But along that process, I gained my heavy equipment operators. You know, I love the job. I love, no, not the job. I love the work, you know, mechanicking, you know, like I read a lot of mechanic works, and that's the reason why I pursued that area, right? But one of the things I wanted to speak about is the when I lost everything, and this didn't only happen once; it happened more than once, maybe twice or three times, man. When I lost everything, when I lost my house, I'll speak about this recent one in 2000. Well, just a few years ago, 3 years ago. I lost everything. My boss fired me from the refinery. No, yeah, refinery. But the day she fired me is the day I lost everything. I lost my car, lost my job, lost my house, lost my family, my kids. I was stuck on the streets. I was stuck on the streets, Lloydminster. I didn't want nobody's help. I hate asking for help because there's always that no or I can't help you, right, at that time. I never asked for help, and I don't know, I never asked for help, but I was stuck on the streets. There were times, well, I did drugs. Sometimes I did it, you know, and then one time I took a program with Reeves College, Community Addiction and Wellness Program. But because of being homeless, I didn't get to finish that program. There again, I only stayed about 8 months, but I did receive certificates for that program, right? So it wasn't a failure. I do have some counseling certificates on my belt, and I will probably just leave it at that. I probably won't complete it. I'll pay off my student loan, yeah, to get the certificates. But when I was taking that community addictions and wellness, I was in a homeless shelter, and school wasn't too far. I loved it like that, right? But all of a sudden, I got kicked. There was no room in the men's shelter, so I had to come back to Onion Lake. I had to come back to my mom's house. Something nobody likes doing, right? Nobody wants to come back, live with their mom when you're well educated and on the right path. But I had to do that. But when I stayed there, I had a brother that my brother, he no longer drinks. Middle child brother. But he used to be an alcoholic. But at that time, I was studying there. Just loud. His friends would be loud, and then I could never get no peace. And when I was studying, and it just wasn't meant to be to complete that program. So I just voluntarily withdrew from there because it was too tough. It was a program that me and my late sister were supposed to take together, but it just seemed so hard to do it, to complete that program, because we were supposed to complete that program together, and we were so happy, right? And I don't think it was even a good idea to come back home, because when I was taking that program, my office where I studied was in the room my sister had passed on in. And she had an addiction. Well, she passed on from her addiction, I should say, you know, like, it was just frustrating that we couldn't find employment. That's the only reason why we picked up those addictions. My addiction, for me, it was morphine, hydromorph. You know, I would snort these pills just so I would never feel anything, no pain. Growing up, we're taught not to cry, right? We're told not to cry, or else you'll get whipped even harder. But to this day, like, I feel like it's okay to cry. You know, it takes a real man to cry. It was something that was told to me too from a work colleague. So you know what, Tyler? Don't be ashamed to cry. It takes a real man to cry. Even though I was the biggest man there, he's looking like a little wimpy kid. Yeah, I shouldn't say that, but you know, like it took me 35 years to learn how to cry on my own. Those 35 years, the only way I could cry is if I took a bottle of vodka and drank it all night, and then I was able to cry. But by the time I was 35 years old, I was able to finally accept that I was able to accept that it was okay to cry, right? Not only that, I was stuck in a system until I was 35 years old. I was on CSO for 35 years since I was 12 years old. And then when I was 35 years old, no more CSO, and I just felt weird, like, I don't know, like I wanted to go to the liquor store, but what for? It's like I'm 35 years old. Like I was on CSO, I couldn't be in liquor stores, I couldn't be in, I don't know, casinos and stuff like that. Or I couldn't be seen drunk, or else I'll add on another charge. But I racked up a whole lot of charges growing up in Onion Lake. I didn't like it. You know, that's my past. I was a bad kid, and I'm sorry. I love you guys. Yeah. But we are here to make a difference in breaking some cycles, right? And, you know, like, one of the things that helped me change was our culture. When I lost everything, I phoned Wellness, you know. I thank Wellness for being there to this day. I phoned them, you know, like, I tried to use the treatment centers to get my kids back from my baby mama. I'm just kidding. But I was not supposed to mention her. I went over there and then, you know, like, when I was sober, I didn't realize how much fun I was missing out of just by being sober. The laughter and the laughter we share together, the jokes, right? I was like, this is better than drinking. We're there with other friends, from Onion Lake. We're just having fun, chilling out with each other, and yeah. But what I was gonna say about my culture, ceremonies, sweats, whatnot, Sundances helped me. There's certain things that I've seen that most people are not probably able to see, right? A lot of us have gifts and a lot of people don't know where our gifts are. But how I found mine was staying clean and sober, even from marijuana and cigarettes too. I quit cigarettes on my own, believing that, you know, maybe if I quit cigarettes, I'll get my kids back. But I used Weegas to quit smoking. It helped with the coughing, but they witnessed it that our medicines work with addictions. And I almost gave me the elder position over there, but I didn't want our friend to get fired. One of my workers there, I had to tell him when he's driving me back this way. I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but it was funny. But yeah, there's with our culture, our language is very important when you go in there doing ceremonies. And it wasn't until Lily Lake I started speaking my own language. And I was surprised because it came out, my language came out when I was praying. I was saying all these prayers being thankful, you know, and I didn't realize how much Kriya I knew, and it was all through prayer. There's so much that I want to share with you guys, and it's just so little time. But if anybody wants, like, like, if anybody wants guidance or else even like questions, just to ask questions, because I believe like there were certain paths that were given, right? And some of the paths that were given to me, I didn't believe that they were put there for me, but I had to experience them so I can relate to other people. I remember, like, dreams are real, visions are real. I had visits that I don't usually share with anybody, but like, I'm a well-educated man. Why is this happening? Like, one of the questions when my first loss, right? When I lost everything, I don't want to say like I was always by myself. I had no idea I was talking to this guy up here when I was doing my college degree. And I came back, everything went downhill, and I came back to Prince Albert. I was like, what the? I was swearing, right? I said the F word 3 times. And I said, why is this happening? I'm doing so good for myself. Why does this have to happen to me? Sitting there. And then that conversation that I had there, and then having to come back to Onion Lake, and then we're at the trailers there. One of my friends bring up that conversation that nobody should have to know. Nobody shouldn't have known. But he mentioned it, and he mentioned it as a story. He said, hey, this one, but that's the exact same words that I was saying he was telling me, and I ignored him. And no, I don't know. I never heard of that. Yeah. But stuff like that, it's kind of hard for me to still believe, right? Because he shouldn't have known anything. He shouldn't have known that conversation that I was having with him, right? But then again, what if that was him again, coming back to question? But, I love the fact that I am off those hard drugs, right? Because I was given a second chance. Like, these kids that I have now, they're the same age they're the same age as my older 2 kids that are adults now. And I was given a second chance, and they're the same age difference, 5 and 3, since the last time I seen them until they were adults. So I like to thank 7th Gen for helping me, bring me closer to my family, having to build healthier relationships, So there's 7th Gen, wellness, Onion Lake Family Services. Onion Lake's changed a lot. They're a lot helping out. I don't know if they're doing a lot for the community than I did see last time living my life out here. It's just that the people that are out there are not taking part, right? I know transportation is one of the key situations why they don't show up, right? Onion Lake's a big reserve and widespread. This is my baby. His name's Blakely. Okay. But I think there's just so much to talk about. sitting up here, but I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I'll pass it on to the next person. Hi.
Miasinio e tako taho kuata ke tamon mga nanas ko monto e petako te ani te utapek sinia ne ko mo cheka sisa kai kan tapo ano Simon ka kyo ke ko nai ko no always ki chom no ka ups squid nana to is sipui ko ya ka me mo e kai ka pokot to e kai mo to ta mai wak matek ta pu tan. Carry on, every one of you. Well, always guys school year. You got a lot of information. Help us out. Help the younger ones. They're going to go. We all go. Tagita to go. Tenian. Speak. Magakuma. Simon. Mujeton. Wakuton. Kak yo me wakuton. Wakuman. Ego many. Ego mai wagi paya. Pagato na imoton. Matego me astatan. Sagito tan. Katio sumayo ako to. Takagi ten man mi che to. Egi pe pamita mo musumpan na o tawap chus kagiti. Egi ko tagi tapo kagiwi ki mago. Ekte ginto yan kaginto na pe min. East man, you know, he always give me heck and everything, you know. I never stopped there. But it really does. It helped me a lot. A lot of things that was given to me to carry on. I could do marriages too. I did about 5 of them. So that's very important to use that, to utilize that. It must be right. Uten ako maganak. Dancing isiha ten. Turtle Lake, Turtle Fort de case, yo gaya. No ako maganak, thunder chalek tot. Ekten igi peoto teta no spong and ekanema, ni som ta tumtana ayawagi speech sheet. That's an over 200-year-old pipe that I got. So very seldom I carry that pipe wherever I go, because that's how much I respect that. You could even tell how they used to fancy these old pipes. They fancy these pipe stems here. I don't go more than 100 miles on that. Locally here, when nobody doesn't have pipe, but first of all, I always ask, because that's what we ought to have to utilize. That's very powerful. I went down in eastern Canada, Wikwamican, Wiki they call it, Ontario, Henby Inlet. Went down there and Doksnamo, Kegoma Waska Simon, Beatsione, Simon Sigaden. I say, I'm going to go to it's cooked to me. It's going to go to Scasmactane, a Hayachik. Yoxamegi pays with Tamagoyan. O Hatsimona. Muin tot neno Hatsimona Tsagase Paisi. A poya, radio. A Pomasnaikane, Moegon. Unmagagi pays a quatagitan. Tata Pomagagi pay Motan Matso Negwam. Man in Tahutin. No chogo, tapomaga nigo. Punta Hatsimun, Kutname, Awega Isino. Amagagi pay squatagita in the Guam, the guy in a pose. Ekteo Timiomacho Taisino, Egoma, Kaimota. Magano check what the guitar, no. Miseto than Stota Magneo, near Gatso, and Simsa and Stota. Kaisan yoga wi pano asniopots ko ayman ego ni magan pano tegin taweta kikain nai ni tuta ki kapes munahanan ito ko gi stabo gi tegi chigi ton mo chwe sa sigom mo igonta o chwe gi tonano gi ko atagi ta nie gi mos ege mustaka ka pe ani tega gi tega hem to ni ma cha Magaya. Eko muma. Tamaga itong si Watson. Eko mapogo. Kapachita. Asko. Tayo miten. Mista hayos ka ito. Ano ko. Mista yung tita mo. Ano. Mag-up. Mista tan. Takayo. Ang trumam ste. Beta ako humunta. Uchekat kusagayan. Eko me gamine. Papeho ano. Ute mapitagis ka no. Kaya sunegi chikami. Ekto mag-ups kita ho ano. Ekte pentum goyan. Minaganto. Wichitaso yan. Pero ang imos painan gosan. 45 hours. Paya. Kinues. Wahyaw. Ekte. Eginto takotan. Tensta mag-up to make them in Tomgoyanum, Ontario. I'll be going down there soon. That's where I get to it. Magego. Debates again. Musum panog. Musum nog. Newa ego ngote hayat. Tago to take se wats to magis tips kakateo kan. Ikan nemgwa. Ego manita ko tasem sa hapo nitsa kapo ya tamo kawi to te nanto patep sige nagig awa pak ni tekta. Ito tamat ko tao inaunce tame manganak. Kagi mangan ni ano. Tamta tawagi tawag pa hapsis ko. Tanma negi kotagita. Spiego ko ise to tamane gagi simon pamo ispuete anek tutak ko gipsis ko kaya ko sikbatat. Mo hatse no ta nangi. Ekusa mata po. Ego ama ya tsmostat ang mung skate tenis tmagsin. Tmaga isino. Ama ne wete tamano kompan. Ya ko tamo ko tus ni twitsa kana ko ni ma trema mios ni ko po stot na ko po boots. No. Maglis na ko po boots sa tao stabon. Oh was na sa tap sita magigo mo temin. Mino sama nagi ko mantan nagi wete tamano na. Ka yogi ko mo ma stahe. Maga egom gaitan mo ga yogi ko ta nagitakutin. Ma egom gaitan. Wow yem dagas kisi ka tektas ko chom. Paki pugutan ngatakutin atsimon. Egom me atsmostata ko. Kami mo ta naga bitset tas ko to ni chiman. Ego mane tagakita ni chia Mr. Mac ngo istaman. Tagakita mane peta go pig squid. Exam ego istama. That's a good one. Ego me mamu tsimstahe. Kasito skutato. That's the biggest thing is to learn to support each other. Never about the gossip. Just throw it aside. Let's carry on with something positive. It's a good life. You know, I'm over 71 years old, and I still feel healthy. It's only my diabetes. But you know what? That's poison too. That metformin they gave me, I just threw it aside. I don't need that. You know what I use? Wikes. Eguan, nagagyo mo somi anwap to segit, wikes. Eguan esox. Kap matsuin, kakape mo tayo. Wikes. Eksan egistan. Moihan, mitset benagskog etet. Apo pugok say no, gia sunamon pago isbon gamon. I have my own Sundance songs that passed down to me from my late adopted dad. They weren't the same as you hear some of these Sundance songs. Mine are kind of different. They're all straight. But again, I met a lot of people in time. Mitset epe nakskog epe itsak ete eksome epe so pigigan kagape kete. Nuto ko upia kan teko man. Mang munan to. Mi ite no cho mi wa yo to tayo. Magas ko man ko tagi tan ya kinese gi pebi ta an sistemas. Boni ka an sistemas. Mga mia tra kan no sa mio te han mio kaus mio pan west ba. Te nesto e kon poco e man e honai ko nesto casino e pa ta man. But everybody's entitled to do what they do. You can't tell nobody, you can't do that. See, we're all humans. We're not creators, we're not grandfathers, We have every entitled, but you have to learn to watch what your intake, what you're into. That's the thing. A lot of things I got to tell you about this. I travel lots. I'm not trying to brag. I do. I get called up at times. Sometimes my kids won't allow me because of my health. But that's not going to stop me, though. Because people, we need this. We got to learn to communicate with different cultures, activities. Omuta, Minstik, Itakaya. Michet at Simon, Kakyo, Uta, Simono Mehaya. We all have stories. We all have stories. Let's share it together. Okay? It's priceless. Priceless. Okay? Eksama pagoma, mga Michet atagi koy. Mga uta at Simo ista. Mataw na mo. Kimpay mga mustato, teko ni chiyo ta. Epeto. Eksama mga kami mo tan. Tananan si Hatse, taon cinta ko sa kasna, pa mo ispo. Magang so na mo, pigs ko, needs me ho askan.
Thank you, Joe. For myself, I just want to add on to what I said a little bit earlier. Like there's so many things. Like he mentioned, everybody's got a story, and he also mentioned that we need to support each other. Like right before he said that, I was writing in my book, and these are just key points that I was thinking of. Is like we need to help each other. We need to support each other. We need to help others understand whatever it is that's going on in their life or going on in their mind even. We need to raise awareness on all parts, not only addictions or cycles or stigmas. It's just like everything in life that causes stress. We got to be aware of it. And then to realize that every person is equal. Young, old, rich, poor, has a house, don't have a house, everybody's equal. Everybody's big on kakyo I sino pig on itaksu. I remember hearing that when I was young. So that's like everybody is equal. That's exactly what it means. So with that, I'll pass it on to Joshua. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Joshua Leckie. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm from Onion Lake here, and this is where my addiction kind of started. It started when I was at a very young age in Lloydminster, but this is where I first tried drugs, and then it just escalated from there. Started smoking marijuana, and then partying on the weekends with my friends, and then that just turned into an everyday thing. That continued on for years, and eventually I left home to go work, but I couldn't keep a job longer than a month because every time I'd get paid, I'd just buy booze and drugs, and then I'd be broke and homeless and looking for a new place to stay and a new job to fuel that addiction more. And then eventually I met up with a group of people who were making money and into the different kind of lifestyles, so I got in with them, and after that it was just fueling my addiction became very easy. I didn't have to work. I didn't even just felt like a carefree life. I didn't have to pay rent nowhere. I just moved around a lot. But then it came at a price, though. I almost lost my life due to my health a few times. Also getting into some situations where I almost didn't make it, accidents and such. And this, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. trying different drugs, getting into harder drugs, and then up until about 2015 is when I got real bad into the meth. And then after that, that's when I really started to go downhill, digging myself a hole. Started going into jail. I'd go to jail for months at a time, and then I'd get out with good intentions of changing my life around, wanting to sober up after having a clear mind for a few months. But I just didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to reach out. I wasn't done. So I'd just go back to the same crowd that I knew, and I'd get right back into it the same day I got out of jail. And then I'd be right back into it, you know, living a life of crime and violence. And so after living like that for 5-6 years, and then every time I go to jail, I'd do something like, I remember I was in there for about 8 to 10 months one time, and I actually got my GED, and I just felt like jail was the only place I could get something done for myself like that, because there was no drugs, no alcohol, and I could actually attend school every day to get something done. And then I remember talking to one of my friends, and she said, what are you going to do when you get out? I said, I don't know, probably just be homeless. And I wasn't lying, because I didn't have no plans of sobering up or trying to do anything good for myself or the society. And then she's like, why don't you try to come to Residence in Recovery? I was like, well, what is that? So she explained to me that it's a sober living program for men and women, and do programming, and it's a safe place to be sober and learn how to stay sober. So with my GED, I ended up getting bail, and then having my GED, I applied for college at Lakeland to pursue welding. And then after 3 months of residence, I left to college. But as soon as I left residence, I ended up relapsing. And then it was just, same thing. Started off on weekends, turned into an everyday thing. But I passed, barely. And then I ended up going back to jail. And then after getting bail again, I ended up leaving again. And going on my last bender there. And then I remember getting arrested on December the 19th, 2020, and I was so mad that day when I ended up getting hauled to the cop station over here. But then as time went on, I was like, you know what, maybe this is a sign from my higher power that it's time to change my life. So after doing a few months in jail in Regina, I ended up applying with Residence again, and requesting bail. And I had to go on an ankle monitor. It's the only way I was going to be allowed out this time. And I had never been on an ankle monitor up until that point. And I felt like that was just my last chance to get this right, because it was just escalating higher and higher. I was getting higher and higher sentences every time. And I just sat outside in the courtyard on the unit I was on, and just remember praying to my higher power, praying to Creator, asking for things to happen in my life so that I can sober up and be in a safe place, and then being granted bail. And then this last time around, after getting out, I knew I had to get rid of my social media, because all the people I mostly associated with on there were people I used with, or people just drug activity and violence and stuff like that. So that was that was very beneficial for my recovery. And to this day, I still don't have social media. And, yeah, so after I ended up dealing with going to court for the last charges I was charged with, the judge found me guilty and then sentenced me to 3.5 years. And I felt like running, because I ran from all my problems my whole life. If there was ever a problem, I just ran, relocated. But I was like, if I run now, I know I'm gonna relapse. I know I'm gonna pick up more charges, and I'm gonna eventually have to deal with these charges. And then more charges and more charges. So I just surrendered my freedom. Ended up going into Prince Albert Penitentiary, and I got a hold of a lawyer out of Edmonton. I challenged my conviction, and I won my appeal. So I got out on bail after 2 months in the penitentiary. And then after working a 12-step recovery program, after doing the steps and working with sponsors, going to peer support meetings, making new friends who are sober, working with others, being a sponsor myself to individuals who are wanting to have what I have, right? And that was a different lifestyle from what I lived. And then, I was finally able to keep a job for more than a month. And I was like a little over 3 years ago now, and I've been working since. And it just feels good to finally live a different lifestyle and be a contributing member to society instead of taking from society. I'm going to my final year of welding here in March, and then after that I'd like to start my own business and just be a supportive father, supportive stepfather, and just give my children the lifestyle that I always wanted growing up, which was a mother and father who loved the children and supported them, by buying them things that they need and showing them how to live a positive lifestyle. And just feeling honored to be asked to share at this panel. And I don't know what else to say. Thanks for coming out.
Tans kinanaska mauni gan mamutawi ma. I'm grateful to be here to help my friend Brian here spread some good messages that our people can take out of this. Mam skutamano ma upiganausoin. My kids, they're very important to me. I have 5 kids, and they're all girls. 1 boy, Miles. I became a father when I was 24 years old, and it was all new to me. It was hard for me. I was lost in my addictions too at the time. Then right after that, I had another kid, back to back, 16 months apart. So I had 2 little ones. I was lost in my addictions. And I feel bad for what I put them through. They're the oldest ones, my oldest kids. They saw the worst in me, the worst out of me. Because they saw that drunk dad. They saw the alcoholic dad, the druggy dad. That's what they saw. And I feel bad that I put them through that. But you know what? No matter what I put them through, this is what I found out. It's that's when I knew that there was unconditional love There's unconditional love. And I saw it through them too. No matter what I put them through, guess what? They still turned around and said, I love you, Dad. I love you, Dad. And I loved seeing that. I loved to hear that. So Miles, Mylan, I love you guys. Thank you for putting up with me. They put up with me. Also, Leanna, she put up a lot with me, man. I put them through a lot. I felt so bad. And it was right in their late teens, I started to get myself better. I started to get better. Because then I still had, I had 3 little ones after that. I have a 7-year-old, I have a 10-year-old, and a 12-year-old. I started sobering up probably when my baby was 2 years old, probably 1 year old, around that time. So those kids, they never saw the worst in me. They never saw the bad in me. And I'm happy they get to see this side of me, the best side of me. And that's called intergenerational trauma. I'm sure you guys heard of it. I know my parents went through that. Their parents went through that. Their parents went through that. It's a cycle, man. It's a cycle. And I finally woke up probably when I was in my late, maybe mid-30s. I finally woke up. I said to myself, I want to break that cycle. I don't want to carry that cycle on to my kids anymore. I want them to grow up healthy. I want them to grow up happy. That's what I wanted for them. So I got myself better. I got myself better. Actually, like 5 years now I've been sober. I've been clean and sober 5 years, and I'm proud of myself. I came a long ways. I came a long ways. And the ceremonies really helped me in my journey. Oh, they're so powerful. I'm so thankful for them. I'm so thankful for them. But what I want to do is I want to break that cycle so my kids don't have to go through all that, what I put through, my oldest 2 kids. These 3 little ones that I have, Marissa, Macy, and Farah, they don't have to see the worst of me. I want them to see the best of me. And that's what they're seeing right now. If they see a healthy man in their life, then guess what? I like to think they're going to grow up healthy themselves. I like to think that they're not going to pick up the bottle. They're not going to do drugs. But who's to say that, right? Everybody has their own choices. But I'm very thankful for my family, for my children. They really saved my life, man. It took me so long to realize that they're important to me. My family's important to me. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. Speaking here, it's hard. It's hard to be here right now. I'll tell you that right now. It's very hard to be here talking in front of you guys, telling my story. I'm not ashamed of my past. I'm not ashamed of my past. I could speak about that because that's not me anymore. I threw that away. That's not me anymore. I'm trying to look forward here. And what I want to do, if I can help one person the way I was helped, that's lots. That's lots to me. And guess what that one person is going to do? He's going to go on to help another person. And that's how we're going to heal, right? As Nehiwak. And that's what I want to do with my family line. I want to be healthy. My kids are going to be healthy. And guess what? Their kids are going to be healthy. And that's how we're going to heal. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. But that's how we're going to heal, through our ceremonies too. Our ceremonies will help us. And I don't really have much to say, but I'm just thankful to be here with these people that I'm sitting with. I'm proud of you guys. I'm proud of you guys. I could say more. I guess only have 10 minutes, Brian said. Okay. Hi, hi.
Good evening. My name is Deborah Waskwich, and I'm from here. I'm really nervous. I haven't spoken in front of family. Other people I have. I like to say hi to Tyler and Rebecca. I really enjoyed taking my practicum there. I'm an addict, but I'm in recovery. I'm 7.5 years clean and sober. I moved home back in 2019. I got sober 2018, and it was hard. Like, the first 2 years was really freaking hard for me. I started drinking at a young age. I've lived off of the reserve back and forth to Lloyd till I was 18, moved to Saskatoon, and that's where I did the hard drugs. I was addicted for 5 years, and that was meth and hydromorphine mixed together. They call them speedballs. I always said I was not ever gonna do that drug. It went from cocaine to doing needles. And when I got sober, I had to stop because I got sick and tired of being sick and tired, living that lifestyle day in and day out. I was gang affiliated in Saskatoon, which I'm not proud of, because when I really think of it now, because I'm 45, right? So when I think of it, I just look at myself and I'm like, holy shit, I really did that stuff. I was like, how stupid could I be, you know? Just to fit in, just to be accepted, to be loved. I grew up in poverty. I grew up in the system. I went to jail. Everything, you know, it is just, my life used to be hard, which I thought. Growing up here in Onion Lake, in the foster system, I was bounced from foster home to foster home. Why? Because to me, I just wanted somebody to love me. But I never got that, which I thought anyways. I don't know what love was because it wasn't shown to me. My grandparents, my mom, my parents were in the residential schools, so were my grandparents and so forth. And when Randall was talking about that generational trauma, that's what I grew up with, right? So I didn't know what love was, affection, and all that stuff. But when I became a parent, I learned how. I learned how to do that for my kids. I hugged them. I told them I loved them. I told them it's really hard for me right now because I lost my oldest back in May. And normally, when I do these kind of stuff, she's there. She's pretty much my support, my main support. And she was my rock. And when I changed my life, I gotta give straight up in Saskatoon a huge thank you for helping me change my life around. It's a nonprofit organization in Saskatoon that helps ex-gang members to come out of that lifestyle, to live a more positive, healthy lifestyle. And they never gave up on me. And listening to these guys talk, it's just like trying my hardest not to cry, because when they say that their kids are their main priorities, their kids help them to try to become a better parent. That it was reversed for me. My daughter, Tiana, was the person she was my sidekick in the gang life, in the drugs, all that stuff. And then when I finally got sober, I wanted to live by example. I tried my hardest to heal, go to ceremonies. I even went to church. I did everything. I still go to counseling. I try to vent as much as I could, but it just seems like it's not helping, you know? It's just making me more angrier. It's making me feel like I just keep on ripping that scab off. And now I'd like to say and think that I'm leading by example, you know? In 2006, when I said that it will never happen to me, that kind of stuff's never gonna happen to me. I was charged with manslaughter in 2006, and that was my kid's father. It was a domestic dispute, and we were drinking and getting high, and which cost him his life. And I still need to talk and say sorry to the person because at his place, I still need to apologize to him, because it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did happen, right? So I went to jail. I was on the ankle monitor for 16 months here in Onion Lake. And then I got sentenced, and I got sentenced 5 years and 8 months. I went to the penitentiary, and when I was listening to Tyler talk about and Josh getting their GED and stuff like that, and in jail, being incarcerated, that's where I learned how to work, was being incarcerated. When I was in jail, I held down a full-time job. And then I didn't even know what I was doing. I did school, but it was something I didn't want. And then battling with addictions, thinking that, oh, okay, I'm in jail, I'm gonna get sober and whatnot. So this is peanuts. So when I got out of jail, what happened? I was going in and out of jail. I was drinking, doing drugs, getting mixed up with the wrong people. So I was going in and out. And then after that, I joined Straight Up in 2011. They helped me get my kids back. But did that stop me from drinking and doing drugs? No. My sidekick was right beside me. My kids seen a lot of stuff that kids aren't even supposed to see. When I was affiliated, every place that I had in Saskatoon was a safe house. And it was like the gang members that are coming in and out of my house and bringing stuff that my kids were not supposed to see, or they weren't even supposed to even have a glimpse of, they saw everything. And I'm not even proud to even sit up here saying that. I'm not even trying to glamorize the gang life, because that stuff is just sad. It took me 8 treatment centers and 3 detox centers to finally tell myself enough isn't enough. And then being with those wrong people, it showed me so much that it's not the kind of life that I wanted, much less for my kids. So I finally went to treatment. I went to a Tatacoop. That's a solid treatment center. Well, when I went anyways. And since then, I got sober. I stayed sober, went to AA meetings, NA meetings. I went to, what do you call those? Where they have a big forum of NA. What's it called? Conventions, yeah, that. And some things that work for me wouldn't work for other people. So everybody's different. Everybody has pasts, right? Pasts, right? So I'm not perfect by any means, because I don't ever want to be perfect. And then coming to today, when Brian asked me if I wanted to be part of the panel, I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And like sitting up here, I didn't think I was gonna cry, but then I did. And then, okay, sorry, going back to 2022, I do have my Indigenous Addiction Service Diploma year 1. I didn't go for the second year, because I got a lot of issues within myself, you know. I'm a very angry person. I'm very reactive, and I just feel that I'm not in the right spot to go work there, because I like hitting people. I'm just joking. But so, fast forwarding to now, this year's been the hardest year. Like I said, I lost my daughter in a tragic car accident. It was a rollover just down on Taylor Road here. She was drinking and driving, and she was by herself. I look after my 2 grandchildren. I have a lot to lose if I were to ever fall off or even think of wanting to drink or do drugs. But there is that one saying that I stick to. I know I have one more drink in me, and I know I have one more. How does that go again? I forgot how it went, but sorry, I'm just going crazy right now. But yeah, I just gotta continue leading by example, no matter how hard it is right now. A lot of people always ask and wonder why, like, how am I doing it, you know? Like, I ask myself that question too. I'm like, how in the hell am I doing this? How am I still staying sober? All I gotta do is just look at my 2 chitsums, and it just goes out the window, you know? Because I have a lot to lose just for one night of drinking and doing drugs. But I'm just rambling now, but thank you for coming.
Good evening. My name is Mike. I just like to tell like how the past 6 months have been for me. I was admitted into a hospital in late April 27th. And I didn't know the extent of why my ailments anyways. And I got shipped off to Saskatoon, and I was in Royal University Hospital. I was there about 3 weeks or so. And I'll never forget the day the doctor came into my room, and he told me that I had a congestive heart failure, and he said if I didn't change my ways, in 6 months I wouldn't even be here. But it's been 6 months and I'm still here. I'm still fighting. I'm a lot healthier than I was 6 months ago. I couldn't even walk 6 months ago. I was homeless. I lived in a tent. I didn't have no job. I didn't have no aspirations of the future. Basically all I wanted to do was get high and be high. And I didn't have a care for anything or anybody. But now, looking back, I didn't know that I was setting myself up, like I was putting little goals in front of me, and it was just something stupid, something small as like getting my IDs or getting a wallet. Like those were really big steps for me. And looking back, it's like I've gotten my IDs, I've gotten my wallet. I've also gotten my heavy equipment operator's certificate. Thank you. And then coming from that, it's like I like running heavy equipment. You know, it's always been like a passion of mine, and they say you don't really, I don't know how it goes, but I enjoy getting up every morning, waiting for the time to get to work, for the time to check the engine oil, you know, to start up my machine, to get in my machine, to bounce that thing down the road and just get to work. Like I don't have a radio in there, but I don't need a radio because I have a lot of things I need to work out in my mind, and that's where I get to do it. And yeah, I've come a long ways in 6 months. I was barely recognizable. Like, I don't. Yeah, if you've seen like a picture of me 6 months ago, you wouldn't believe that I'm the same man standing in front of you, talking in front of you guys that I was back then. I've always been this guy. I just, you know, I shut down. I withdrew myself. I stayed away. I haven't been in Onion Lake for 7 years now. 7 years of being homeless on the streets in Lloyd. You know, living not it was an experience, you know, having to rely on handouts, basically, pretty much, not having no money, not having a place to stay, a warm place. This is gonna be the first winter I've had in 7 months that I'll be staying inside, and I can't describe the feeling that I get from just knowing that there's people who really do care. Like, even though they're not related to me, and they still care about me enough to, you know, take me and, you know, point me in the direction of which way I should go. Not tell me how to go or where to go. So just giving me a gentle nudge and letting me make up my own mind. Yeah, I'm grateful for a lot of things, a lot of people. My brother Brian, especially, he's been there since I was in the hospital. Comes and checks up on me, you know. Just he's always there. He's always been there, and I really appreciate him so much. And I'm so grateful to be here. I'm so grateful to be alive. The things that I've learned in the past 6 months, you know, there's this saying, if I knew then what I know now, it really resonates a lot within me. And it's true. And I always try to preach that to the ones who are still in addictions, because I still talk to them a lot. All the people from Onion Lake. I've formed a family bond. It's when you're out in the streets, you really don't have anybody. But you tend to form alliances with the other homeless in the streets, and yeah, that was my home. That was my family for the past 7 years. I'm just, I'd like to just say thanks to everybody for being here. My aunties for believing in me. I'm just happy, you know. I smile a lot now, and I never really used to smile as much, but now I do. It's hard for me to talk like this. Like, I'm just shaking right now. It's hard. Yeah, but that's all I have to say. Thanks for listening.
Hi to all these guys. Let's give them one more round of applause. They all have, and one girl. Hey, this. Asaskiga sagwit nisiga sunwit togus kasu sage ganutsinia. My name is Donald McDonald, aka Donnie Mac, Emery Burning Grass. I got a lot of different names, but little story about myself. You know, I grew up here in Onion Lake. My Gogam and my Musum I'm very grateful for them, you know, for preparing me, I guess. You know, I was never good in school. You know, I was kind of a class clown. A lot of teachers told me I'd never make it anywhere. And, you know, like, a lot of times I was bullied as a young boy growing up. I didn't have a father, you know. I didn't meet my dad until probably 14, 15 years old. So, you know, growing up like that, you know, opportunities, I always wanted to play hockey growing up. I never really got to do that. Onion Lake never had a rink here, and, you know, I just kind of, I guess, skated on the ponds and grew up as a young boy here. But, you know, the tools that I picked up as a young boy were from my Gugum and my Musum. My Musum, you know, he took a lot of time and taught me lots of different things, you know, like, I guess that's where that mentality comes from, and my puppet says it all the time, only dogs get stuck, you know. As a young boy, I grew up with my Musum, and, you know, we go up north, and taught me how to hunt, you know, and then there was a time where he taught me how to mechanic. Then there was times where he taught me, you know, it's time to go pick potatoes. And then, you know, when the freezer was getting low, he said, it's time to go get a deer or a moose. And, you know, all those teachings, you know, I was very grateful to be born and raised in that era where, you know, you can go next door and borrow lard and sugar, and, you know, those were the good old days where people visited amongst each other. And, you know, my Gugam, on the other hand, you know, she taught me love, Sagituin, and, you know, Epnawaswan, and, you know, taught me how to cook for myself. And, you know, taught me a lot. You know, as a young boy, I remember waking up in Onion Lake on the east side, and you know, I'd go to the kitchen and there would be rabbits sitting there, and you know, Sesame Street would be playing, and you know, my gugum and me would be fixing those rabbits, and you know, she used to put the kidneys aside and said, "These ones are yours," and you know, made me feel like a little king at a young age like that, you know, to have kidneys put aside, and you know, those were mine and only mine, and you know, so you know, she kind of showed me that I was loved and important, I guess, in that way. And you know, we'd later on go to the Homemakers Club. A lot of days, Homemakers Club, I remember they're sitting there cutting triangles for these old ladies, and you know, doing that kind of stuff. And you know, there was beating and sewing going on. Sometimes my gugum's legs would get tired, and I would have to go down there and press it for her. You know, she'd say, "A little bit faster, a little bit," okay. And then, but you know, I lived those days, you know, a brand new bike, you know, we'd go to the dump, me and my Muslim, and then we'd come back with new stuff, and you know, a couple broken bikes. So, you know, I fixed my first bike, and you know, my Muslim wasn't around one day, and you know, I needed one more bolt for the tire, and I got my gugum to come with me to the old trucks there looking for a bolt. And so, you know, they loved me, those two, and they showed me quite a bit. But after my gugum passed on, you know, things started to turn a little bit different. I started to be like a freelancer, I guess like a little wild child. And you know, my best friend back then was me and Jeffrey Heathen, and we used to just be all over all the time and doing whatever we wanted. And you know, 15, 16 years old, I experienced alcohol, and you know, 16, 17, I started drinking and just being a wild child. And you know, 17 years old, and you know, I started seeing these people on the reserve, and you know, even men from this reserve that I've assaulted and beaten up, you know, like those are things that I've done that I'm not very proud of. But you know, these were people that bullied me my whole life. You know, there's two sides to a story. And you know, I started doing that thinking this was my way of getting revenge. But 18 years old, I was my first, you know, the law caught up to me. From 18 to 26 years old, I was in and out of jail, in and out of jail, in and out of jail. And you know, there was, you know, I was living at Lucky, my Auntie Beatrice. You know, a lot of times I had my own bed under the stairs at her house, and you know, she had, you know, there was Donna and all my aunties, you know, Iris, she took me in, and I stayed under her steps for about a year. And you know, battling my addictions as well at the same time. You know, 26 years old, I found myself 6 days awake without sleeping or eating on crystal meth. And you know, back then they used to call it speed. That was like the cool word. Like I took speed, and you know, thinking it was all good. But you know, I didn't know it was crystal meth. And you know, the 6th day I felt very suicidal. You know, I felt like hanging myself. I felt really gross. It felt like my spirit didn't want to be a part of my body no more. And you know, I'm just very grateful, you know, I wasn't man enough to do that to myself. And, you know, then I snapped out of it. And, you know, I told my mom, and she took me to the rehab here in Onion Lake. I went to rehab. After about 35 days of rehab, I came out of rehab, and I got a bachelor house up the road there. And you know, after I got my bachelor house out of rehab, there was still drinking and drugging going on there. You know, it was a little bachelor house. It was called Minigos. Just kidding. But it was like Amigos, but a little one after hour. So, you know, that was my life there, cleaning up every morning after the party was gone, everything, you know, it was gross, and, you know, it was ugly, and I said, you know what, I don't want to do this no more. It's not who I'm supposed to be or what. And, you know, these hunters came down from the States, and they came to the house. They said, do you want some geese? We shot some geese, but we're trying to give them away. And I said, no, probably the Elders Lodge over there, they'll take them. And, you know, before they left, I said, you know what? I always wanted to dance powwow. That's one thing. As a young boy, I had a goal and I had a dream. And, you know, I seen men's traditional powwow dancers. So I said, you know what, I'm going to make my own powwow outfit out of this. And, you know, I started plucking these feathers from the geese. There was blood everywhere. Hey, just kidding. I plucked all the feathers, and, you know, I said, I'm going to make a bustle. So I got up the glue gun. I got glue sticks from the dollar store, and I started making my powwow outfit with glue sticks and a glue gun. And I went to the dump, and, you know, I found an old broom handle. I took that. I said, hey, this will be a spear. And I seen the old security vest there, and I was like, hey. So I grabbed the old security vest, and I started cutting strips, that glitter stuff, and started making myself an outfit, you know, from the dump and goose feathers and whatever I can get my hands on at the time. And, you know, it only took me about probably 2 days, you know. I was real good with a glue gun. So after it was done, you know, that Friday came along, and I said, I'm ready to dance, you know, I don't want to. So I started practicing dancing in my house there, looking in the window and, you know, playing powwow music. And, you know, I said, I think I'm ready to dance. So, you know, this is what kind of helped me on my journey, the way I was going, you know, drinking jail, drugging, culture. And, you know, I went to the edge of Onion Lake, and, you know, I said, Muslim, I'm going to go dance powwow. He said, really? I said, yeah. I said, I made a powwow outfit. Can you give me some money? He gave me $20 to my name. From the Elders Lodge, I brought my powwow outfit. I went to the edge of Onion Lake here, and I stuck out my thumb. I said, you know what? I'm going to go dance powwow. There's a powwow in Beaver Lake. So I went over there, and I waited there for a while, and sure enough, Keith Stick pulled up there. He said, Dante Tutin, where are you going? I said, I'm going to go dance powwow in Beaver Lake. He said, well, jump in. So I ended up going to Beaver Lake. He dropped me off there. He was going to go play in a poker tournament in Lac La Biche. And when I got there, you know, I got a tent from Auntie Beatrice, and she said, yeah, all the poles are there, everything. Make sure you don't lose anything. I said, yeah. So I got there, and I put out this tent. It didn't even have no tent poles or nothing. Didn't even have a top cover. And I said, don't lose nothing. Everything's already gone already. So, you know, I thought, how can I do this? What would my Muslim do? You know, all those started coming back. And, you know, I looked for a tree, and I started tying this to the tree on top. I went and got some garbage bags, and I taped it over. Then I started getting ready that evening, Friday night grand entry. They said, come on, men's traditional, start coming in. So I started going into this grand entry, and, you know, the heartbeat of the drum right away, you know, I fell in love with something, you know, to replace the drinking and the hard drugs, and this was like a whole different high, you know. It was something that I fell in love with right away. So with that, you know, I started dancing, and grand entry was over. It was really good. After grand entry, intertribals started coming on, and, you know, I started dancing powwow in intertribals. And then I looked behind me. All the traditional dancers were doing exact same moves I was doing, following. Hey, just kidding. somebody went like this, and I looked back. I said, "What? I'm trying to." He said, "Your feathers. You dropped all your feathers." So I looked back there, and I looked, and sure enough, all my feathers were dropping, and my outfit was coming apart. The sun was melting the glue sticks, everything. But I felt really embarrassed. It was an ugly feeling at the time. And then I said, "You know what? I don't want to do this. I don't. I just want to quit. Like, I'll never be there again. People will laugh." But I never quit, and that's something my Muslim taught me as well, to be stubborn and never quit. And I came back home. I started walking around looking at these outfits, how they were made, and I got myself some tools, some sinew, and I started doing things. And my mom, I told her, and my mom seen it. She said, "Kawichit, and I see you're really wanting to dance." And she started picking up the beads and the beadwork, and even that brought me and my mom together closer. And so he started making me this beadwork to make myself look good and feel good. And 11 years of my life I danced powwow. And within those 11 years, it taught me quite a bit. And, it taught me something that I never knew I had. I never knew I was an artist before this. I never knew I was an entertainer before all of this. I never knew I had those gifts. And each and every one of us has a gift. Sometimes we go a whole life without even knowing the gifts that we do have. And, in 2016, about 13 years ago, I met Carmen. I met her at a powwow, and we've been married now, probably going on 6 years here. And my life started to change for the better once somebody let me know that I was loved too. As soon as she said, come visit me. And, we were friends there. And then I went to Prince George, BC. And, sometimes we need that to get away from the reserve, all the stuff, the relapsing that happened after, the powwow, even like they say, once you're an addict, you're always an addict, right? So, from 26 years old to 36, it was good. But, during those times, there was relapsing, and there was a lot of going back to that ugly road. And, after I found somebody in my life that showed me that, there was a better life, and, gave me hope in my life, and, she entered me and she put my name into an art draw, and it was, I think, 18 or 16 selected artists across Canada, and it was against architects and stuff like that. And as soon as I met Carmen, my life started to become better, because I had a teammate to live my life with, and somebody to help pump up my tires at the same time. And she did a lot of pumping. Just kidding. But she pumped my tires pretty good, and I was living in Prince George, and after Prince George, a couple years there, we moved to Edmonton. And out of those 18 and 16 invited artists, whatever it was, it's called the Walrus Talks Arts Contest. So she submitted some of my work, and sure enough, I got invited. And I went to this Walrus Talks Arts Contest in Edmonton, and there was artists from Ontario, Inuvik, Nunavut, all over. There was architects there, stone face carvers, you name it. And I ended up winning. I won the VIP section there, and it was a good feeling. And this was the first time in my life that I actually got to experience to be praised, or, you know, like just, it was a good feeling, you know, they started clapping and whatever, you know, and I was like, right on. So from there, you know, I said, you know, I'm an artist. I'm going to start my own store, 1876 Trading Post. And, you know, that's the store that used to sit over here. And, you know, a lot of people said, you can't do that. You don't even have your business degree. I said, I don't need a business degree. You know, I just got to figure out my own way to do this, and it's going to happen. And, you know, within a year and a half, I built the store from nothing, you know, from 2 pieces of leather and maybe 3 sinews and about 30 different colors of beads, and trying to start my own business because, you know, the opportunities weren't here for me, because the choices that I made before affected me later on in life. So nobody wanted to give me a job here. Nobody wanted to, you know, it was nothing. There was nothing here for me. So I said, I'll create my own opportunity. And, you know, I started a store here in Onion Lake. Everything went good. And then, you know, I met my sugar daddy. And after I met him, I never had to work another day in my life again. Just kidding. But Emery Burning Grass came around, right? And I built him in that store. And, you know, again, I've never practiced to be a comedian. I've never ever wanted to even try to be a comedian. It was just, I guess, somewhere inside Donald McDonald. And, you know, 2018, I had an opportunity, you know, Bobby Cameron came into my store. He said, are you Emery Burning Grass? I said, yeah. He said, I'm Bobby Cameron. I said, oh, yeah. Where are you from? He said, yeah, you don't know me, Bobby Cameron? I said, no. FSIN chief. I said, oh, okay. I had a dream of your puppet. And I said, really? I said, yeah. That campaign speech came out, and you know, in 2017, I was in a backyard garage, just hanging out, living on welfare, you know, no driver's license, never had a driver's license in my life, homeless, and you know, Calvin Linz, my brother, you know, he pressed record one day, and Emery Burning Grass was running for leadership, so he did an election speech. And you know, when you hang around with successful people, I think it kind of rubs off on the next person too. And you know, Calvin, he's a very successful man. You know, he's always helped me through my life. You know, when I needed a guy or somebody or help, he's always been there. And support, I think, is really important. Like Mikey, Boot, all these guys, you know. It's good to support them. Very proud of these guys, you know. But you know, at that time, Calvin, he put a YouTube channel. He said, bro, I want to share this because I think this is funny. Sure enough, he shared it. Within the first year, you know, this video blew up. It had 4.8 million views. People were wondering, who's this puppet? Who's this puppet? And you know, December 3rd, 2018, I had an opportunity. I got a phone call, and you know, at the time I was on minutes, like I didn't have a contract. So I said, hello, who's this? I only have 3 minutes. They said, this is River Cree. Just kidding. But that's how it happened. And you know, I got a phone call December 3rd, 2018, and they said, is this Emery Burning Grass? I said, yeah, this is Emery. Can we hire you? And I said, hire me for what? He said, we need a comedian, River Cree, tomorrow night. I said, tomorrow night, the comedian? I said, yeah, you're a little puppet. Do you think you could bring him? I said, how many people? He said, 2,500 people. I said, oh, no, I can't do that. No. Probably no. He said, I'll think about it. Just trying to rub them off. And, you know, I told Carmen, I said, they want to hire me at River Cree tomorrow for a comedian, 15 minutes. Are you going to do it? And I said, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're supposed to call back. So, you know, I started writing these jokes on a paper. You know, the jokes I learned from the powwow trail, the jokes I learned from jail, the jokes that I learned from the hockey dressing room, I guess. And, you know, maybe that was my school. Maybe that was preparing me to be a comedian. Who knows, you know. So they called back. I said, yeah, I think I'll try it. And at that time, I didn't know. I said, well, when is it? They said, it's tomorrow. I said, oh, tomorrow? And I doubted myself again. He said, well, yeah, I'll check it out. Well, what are you going to charge us? I said, I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, like 500 or 300. I didn't know what to charge myself. They said, holy, you sound like a cheap hooker. And I said, well, how much? He said, how about we'll give you $1,500 for 15 minutes? I said, okay, I'll be there. So the next step, you know, I took an unregistered van at the time, my mom's old black van, no driver's license, and, you know, I said, Bones, yeah, I wonder if I should take Bones. And he said, no, I'm going to go by myself. I'm going to go challenge this on my own. So I left here, you know, and I chanced it all the way, 631, went to Devon, back roaded it to River Cree. And, you know, this puppet, I paid $5 for this puppet. You know, he was a white cop when I picked him up in 2017. And, you know, I put some hickeys on him. I gave him a medallion, some braids. And he was a white cop. I turned him into a First Nation. Sort of like what Buffy St. Marie tried to do. Hey, just kidding. But, you know, walking in there with my $5 puppet, I didn't know what to expect. Sure enough, you know, I went up 15 minutes, and after a while I said, how much time do I have left? And they said, you're at 23 minutes. And I said, so am I getting 2,300? Hey, just kidding. So I said, I'm done. I was supposed to be only 15 minutes, you know. I was just I was having fun up there, and I started getting off the stage. They said, encore, encore. And, you know, I never knew what encore meant. You know, I was from the reserve, and I started waving like this with my hands, and they said, they want an encore. I said, I don't know what that is. They want you to come back up. So I went back up, and, you know, I did it again, and then that's where my career started. You know, the next day I was already invited to probably 11 shows, and, you know, since then, you know, Emery Burning Grass, I don't know, it was probably the best $5 I've ever spent in my life. You know, sometimes the Creator puts us on our own journeys, and, you know, if I could change anything, I probably wouldn't, because, you know, through it all, you know, there was a learning process. You know, I've experienced quite a bit in my life. You know, I'm 47 years old now. I've been married for 5.5 years. I now have a driver's license. You know, I've competed at the Calgary Stampede on my own dollar and on my own time. I don't rely on the band. The band don't help me nothing. You know, I've been building my own house now for the past 1.5 years. And without the band's help, you know, like, if I could do this, anybody can do this. You know, I don't even have I never went to high school. I went to school high. I said that earlier, and, you know, I was a class clown. You know, I never had opportunities, you know, that I wish I would have had at a young age. But if I would have had those opportunities, maybe I wouldn't know what I know today. And, you know, today I have full power over my addictions. You know, I live here in Onion Lake. I don't have a boss. You know, I'm the boss of myself. I call my shots. Nobody can tell me how to live. And, you know, the way I see it, like today, you know, I don't hide nothing from anybody. You know, I smoke marijuana, and you know, there's nothing really wrong with that because it helps with the anxiety that came with all the damage that I put into my body as a younger man, you know, doing all the drugs, cocaine, crack, meth, you know, you name it, I've done it, you know, and I'm not proud of it, and, you know, but I can't change it, and the only thing from here is for me to help myself and my kids and help the younger generations, but, you know, sometimes I'm unable to do that because, you know, as much as I wanna, because the way this community is ran, it's kind of like under suppression. We keep our younger people suppressed where they can't even come out of the suppression, you know, and that's where the hard drugs, they go down this spiral, and, you know, once you go down this spiral, you give yourself a bad name, and we're all guilty of giving up on people, even our own family members, you know. So, you know, I'm happy to be here as well, you know, and it's kind of a funny world and a funny suppression this reserve gives. Like, you know, one person, you know, let's give one example, you know, and it kind of pushes people to do hard drugs and, you know, to drink and to, like, let's say a guy does cocaine, right? And a guy drinks, and a guy goes gambles on Friday night on payday. Saturday goes gambles again, does some lines, and, you know, the same guy he works with goes and has a hoot outside of his house, and then goes inside and watches a scary movie with his kid. And, you know, eats a bag of chips and falls asleep. Next morning, he's okay. The other guy didn't even sleep all night, but, you know, he's going on day 2. Monday morning, Tuesday morning, or whatever, you know, surprise piss test at your work. Now, you know, the guy who did coke, went drinking, did all his fun, gambling, all the stuff is out of his system. The boss will say, okay, you're gonna stay. You smoked a joint. You ate a bag of chips, you're fired. And you know, that's just the way I feel about the suppression that goes on here. And you know, lots of us have felt the suppression. And you know, the opportunities, they're not fair for all of us because, you know, the choices, I guess, that we made, and a lot of us didn't make very bad choices, you know. A lot of us were just misled, wrong direction, wrong road. But, you know, at the end of the day, all of us here, you know, we're all beautiful people, even though we went the wrong path, you know. Everybody has their own story, and I'm very proud of all these guys that are here today. And myself, you know. I had to heal and heal through all the traumas in my life. And you know, today I never ever had my hand out like this, ask for $1. Like, I'm so proud I can't even ask for a cigarette from anybody. You know, I trained myself to be like that because, you know, this band taught me how to live on my own. Today, I don't go to the band office. Kagiwitsa Hinsa, can you help me out? No. Because why should I ask anybody for help when I can help myself? Hi, hi.
Thank you, Donald. Thank you, everybody, for sharing. And I think we're going to have a little bit of something to eat. I know everybody's hungry because I'm hungry. If I'm hungry, everybody's hungry. Just kidding. But we're going to have something to eat, and then we'll open up the floor for some Q&A right after we have something to eat. We'll do some door prizes while you guys are having some supper. And yeah, so if you want to go?
Yeah.
Randall. Joe? Tyler? Here, Tyler. We're just going to have a quick little prayer here with Smoking Joe is going to speak for us. Hey, right on. Beautiful lantern that has a little cleaning straw so you can clean the inside of it. That's a pipe for your. Yeah, yeah. Was it good? It's good? Okay. Prize number 2. It's winter out there. It's getting cold, so we're going to have some cold feet. So we got some slippers right here. Tyrell, come here. Pick me a name. Nice miss. That's why you didn't make the basketball team. Okay, what do you got? Joanne Mayo. Joanna Mayo. Right here, some slippers. Congratulations. Be warm feet. There you go. You're welcome. Speech. Next. Because it was time change, we're going to do a clock. Want to come pick a name? EBG picking a name. What do you got there?
Jolene Carter. Your ride is waiting. Yeah, just kidding.
Thank you. Jolene Carter wins herself the wall clock. Next on the list, where's Jolene? Are you busy? She's busy right now. What about a pool table? Hey? Let's do a pool table. Jolene, you can pick the next name. You want to pick one out of here for me? Please be mine. Please be mine. Yeah. Thank you, Jolene. Kydell Patagan wins a pool table. Hey, where's Kydell? This guy right here. Hey, congratulations. Play some poker pool later. Got some gift cards here. Oh, Kydell, come and choose a name for me real quick, Kydell. Yeah. No. Kydell Patagan. Kind of sounds like Joe. Hey. What do you got here?
Donna McDonald.
Donna McDonald. Gift card. Congratulations, Donna. Now, what else can we give away? What do you think, Joseph? What do you want to give away? Come and choose. Everything except any of these or this. And then you got to choose a name. Okay. Some more of those footwear. Lucky brand. And the winner is?
We got Iris McDonald.
Iris McDonald wins herself some shoes. Okay. Now. Okay, you got this one. Congratulations. Ours gets this one. Now you each choose a name. Each choose one name. That one's going to be for the ping pong game.
Deb Waskowicz.
Deb Waskowicz wins a ping pong. And then you chose one? It'll be for this 20-inch light-up foosball game.
Denise P. Waskowicz.
Denise P. Waskowicz wins the foosball game. Where's Deborah? Deborah. Oh. Oh, we got a lot of gifts. Yeah, you wish, yeah. Choose a name right there and then put it with the card. Yeah, one of those cards. Yeah. Yeah, that's what you want. You get to play ping pong. Yeah. Too bad. You want it. Another gift card going to Shayna Horse. Shayna Horse. Is there a Shayna Horse here? If not, then there'll be a gift card waiting for you at the office. And then we'll get Alexia to come and choose the next prize and choose the next name. Shayna Horse. It looks like it says Shayna. Maybe it's Shania.
Yeah, I think she's.
Okay. Here you go. Is that you?
No, it's my daughter.
Your daughter? Okay. Okay. No, it's good. It's good. Cody Whitstone. Which one are you going to give him? That? Okay. Here. I don't know. Where's Cody Whitstone? Oh, there he is. Look at this guy right here. Oh, what did you win?
MP3.
JBL Bluetooth speaker. MP3. Yeah. That's him. He can have that. Hey, Cody, come and choose a name reader. Choose a name and put it with that thermos. Take a name out of there. Only one. What? Oh, only one.
Tyler Lauren.
Tyler Lorenz wins himself the other thermos. That a boy? That a boy? You want to choose a name? Boy, I'm a real boring person to talk on the microphone, hey? What do you got?
Charisse Morris.
Right here. Put it here. I forgot to choose a gift first. Wait. Charisse Morris. Pool table. Now you guys play some poker pool. Yeah, for this one here, choose one name. Shyla Patagan wins a mini air hockey table. Shyla Patagan. Congratulations, everybody. Where's Shyla? Is she here? Is that you? Are you sure? Are you too? What if it was this? Look. What if it was this? Would it be you? What about this one? Right here. There you go. Congratulations. Now you can have fun, or you can re-gift it at Christmas. Oh yeah, Shyla, I forgot to ask you. Come choose a name for me. For that, no wait, that's already done. For a gift card, choose me one name for, put it right beside one of those little gift cards right there. Or you want to announce the name? Are you too shy? Okay. Okay. Thank you. This one says Irene Carter gets a gift card. Yay! We'll do the last gift card, and then we'll do the other prizes after the Q&A. So if you want to win those prizes, you got to participate. Okay, choose me a name here. Choose me one name out of here. Anyone, choose one, anyone. What do you got? Shakira Waskiewicz Little Wolf gets this other. You're welcome. Congratulations. Shakira Waskiewicz Little Wolf right here. Who is Shakira Waskiewicz Little Wolf? You? Is that you? There you go. Congratulations. You're welcome. Okay, well, that's it for now. We'll get into some Q&A here. I think everybody's got their fuel tank refilled. And we should be ready to go here in a couple minutes. I better get some fuel in my tank here. That's it. So hopefully you guys got your questions ready, because we're about to get started with some Q&A here. So anything that's on your mind that you think would be helpful for anybody, whatever we can do to help. If you have some questions for any of us that are sitting up here, just don't be afraid to ask. We have a mic runner here. We have a mic runner here. I have your microphone with me. So, yeah. So if you got a question, put your hand up, and whoever it's directed to, and we'll do our best to answer.
Nay. This first things first, I'm so very proud of all of you. Igwe mamiti hiek. I'm very proud, and you just hit my heart tonight. Another that I've always, a question that I've always, I guess, has been on my mind. What other services can Onion Lake provide? Like, what can we do? You know, man, there's so much I know, like the wellness center tries to do. We do try and reintegrate. We try and help Awasak at the schools. I don't know, what else is there? You know, and because all of you have showed your strength, your perseverance, you know, I'm very proud of you. But there's some I know that still are gap. It's a one sigik, and I always wonder, what else can we do? What else can we do as educators, as moms, as aunties, as kokoms? You know, tapoy gap it's ngagi sumanan. We pray all the time. I know I pray all the time. But yeah, that's just a question, I guess. Hi.
Well, I'll try to answer that. You probably heard the saying, it takes a community to raise a child. So it takes community involvement. Everyone needs to help out and try and reach your hand out to these people that need help. Don't be afraid to do that. And I don't know, we're forgetting that, I guess. We're forgetting to help each other out nowadays. And that's what we need to do. You don't have to be in leadership to help out others. Just right here, we could all lend out a helping hand, right? Just help each other out. That's what I think anyways.
What I think would help with more connection within the community. I know that from my experience, I didn't really feel a connection with the people that I share the community with. But then when I was ready to make changes in my life, the things that were there that helped me were 12-step meetings, counseling, cultural events, as well as just more connection.
I think for myself, you know, role models are needed. Sort of like when you see somebody doing good, you know, you want to do good and you want to follow. And I think role models are kind of needed, and we got role models in our own community, you know, and we overlook those role models all the time. And you know, I think if we can use our own people and our own talent in our own community and give them hope, you know, lots of times, you know, when we're battling our addictions, we get sent to, I guess, counselors that studied school on why people act like this, or why we become addicts. And you know, I think it's better when we utilize our own people. For example, like Boot, you know, my brother Boot here, you know, he's doesn't have his psychology, doesn't have his university or nothing like that, but he's walked that road of addictions, of homelessness and stuff like that. Now, for Boot, you know, to go back and show his brother love, Mikey here, you know, to go and get him from the darkness and bring him back, and, you know, utilizing his older brother, and, you know, Boot, Tamaganwat, his younger brother, and he went back and got him. And, you know, now when we come back to the community, like, we still go ask Dr. Saxton to fix everything or whatever, you know, I don't even know the guy, but, You know, a lot of these people that are trying to help the addicts from here never even did the drugs. They read the books on how the drugs act or how, but you know, we need to start utilizing our own past addicts, the ones that are going on that journey, utilize them at home like this, and you know, they become role models, and I think it becomes a snowball effect after that, you know, to have engagements like this and sharing stories, because at the end of the day, nobody wants to be homeless. At the end of the day, nobody wants to risk overdosing. You know, everybody wants to have a good life, and I think, yeah, that's what we need to do, is start utilizing our own people that have healed and came forward, and that way, it gives people hope, right?
Yeah. One of the things that helped me, and I think it will help others as well, because it really stuck to me, when I was going to school out in Eagleview, I remember one of the teachers, I believe it was a librarian at the time, she stopped me, right? She stopped me, she said, "Tyler, if you want a better future, you need your education." Like, she was really, I knew that she said that for a reason to me. She probably seen me in my daily activities on Central here, maybe, but that it always stuck to me when she said that. If you want a better future, if you want a better life for yourself as you get older, you need your education. So things like that help me pursue my education and a better future that I have to this day. Hi. Oh, one of the things that, can I advertise here real quick? One of the things I forgot to mention when I was up here speaking is I did bring some artwork that I worked on during my sober days, right? And some of the artwork is from Lily Lake as well. I just held on to it. I just find it hard to sell my own work. But that's one of the gifts that was given to me and was shown to me as a younger kid. When I was a little kid, my uncle showing me carvings, right? But it was brought back to me when I went to Lily Lake. He's like, "You have a gift," and I was given a gift. I was offered something, and I kept it. And I wondered why. Why was I gifted this? Then later on, like a few months later, I was carving like nothing. I was carving bone. I was carving wood. I can carve. Yeah, I like to carve and paint as well. Hi. Oh, sorry. One more time. I'll lay that out here for you. That artwork, I'll put out a table and I'll just so you guys can look at it. Some of it's half done because I don't know what the customer is gonna want on the finishing job. Hi.
Okay, so like what I got out of that question was like, what could we do as a community to help other people, like to help our crisis or whatever it was. But I mean, what I see is like for myself, I think Don, Big Brother Don over here kind of touched on it, was the mentorship and then bringing it all the way home to right into your doorstep and making that awareness available for younger ones, younger generations, keeping them aware of the problems that are going to come, or keeping them aware of what, about what drugs bring, or what alcoholism brings, or what anger brings, or, you know, everything like that. Bringing that awareness home right into your door, I think that would be a key point in the battle against, you know, what's becoming, I don't know how to say it, you know, this big, huge problem that's going on, and it's not only our community that's going through it, it's communities all over the place are going through it. So, you know, this is something that that I adopted from the residents and recovery crew that, you know, I think it would be, it's a really good thing is to just to get that awareness out. And I'm really appreciative that everybody's here. Yeah, and it's going to be an ongoing thing, I think. We're going to be doing this ongoing, maybe once a month or something, you know. I think it's going to be good. So.
Oh.
Any other questions? There's one on the side over there. Eden? You want to run that mic over there?
All right, that's what you call work.
Hi. Was there ever a moment when someone could have stepped in and made a difference? Like, what kind of support would have helped you back then?
Who are you addressing that to?
I guess all of you on the panel there, because I know that Tyler was saying that, and I kind of felt that too, where he doesn't want to ask for help, and I kind of feel like I too kind of feel that way, where I'm kind of too proud to ask for help or else ask for like advice on anything. So I was asking that. Was there ever a moment when someone could have stepped in and made a difference, and what kind of support would have helped you back then?
For myself, I think the supports were there. It was just me being stupid and naive and not listening. It took me to like a real big downfall to understand that I was in the wrong in my own life. So the supports were there, like for family-wise, but I didn't know like about, you know, wellness or men's wellness, anything like that. I thought everything I was going through was normal. So if somebody made it aware to me that the things that I was thinking and seeing and doing wasn't normal, I think would have helped. Because like addictions, alcoholism, it was prevalent, you know, it was all over the place. And seeing it on the regular, it just, for myself, it was just normal. It was normal to go and drink on the weekend after work and not come home till Sunday at, you know, 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening. You know, that was normal for me. But I didn't know it was going to be that much of an issue or escalate into what it escalated into, so.
I think when you say somebody to step in to make things a lot better, you know, I guess for myself, I don't know, the answer to that I guess would be parenting. You know, for myself, I wish my dad probably would have stepped in and, you know, gave me the opportunities as a young boy. I think parenting is a strong thing. You know, we got to learn to become good parents to the next generation, and that's how we'll fix things. And, you know, with Colby and Hunter, you know, I was a young man when I had them, and, you know, not like my baby today, you know, Junior, and I'm able to be a father now today to Junior, and, you know, so, you know, I think parenting is a big thing. So when you say if someone was there to step in and, you know, I'm not saying I had bad parents. Like my mom, I loved my mom. She had me as a young boy, and, you know, it was just the choices that came with it. But, you know, when you have structure with two parents living in the same house, I think the opportunities become better, and the percentage is greater, I guess. I don't know. But, you know, so yeah, I guess parenting, you know, if I guess parenting would be the answer now. But, you know, back then, it's normal, you know. A lot of us grew up without our dads, or you know, our dads left us, or whatever the case is. But you know, I think we all gotta, like Randall pointed out, it takes a community to raise a child, and you know, I think we all look after all these kids, you know, and we look out for one another as a community, and that's kind of how we bind together, I guess, and you know. That way people become closer, you know, not they look our own kids and other kids, and you know, not to favor and to treat kids right. And you know, why I say that is because, you know, when I was a young boy, I had older people in the community, you know, try and knock me down as a young boy, and I still see that to this day. So, you know, I think parenting and showing love to everybody, I guess, is kind of a way, you know, to teach our next generation not to get lost, you know, because when you don't have a mom and dad at home, they're out at bingo, and one you never met or whatever, you know, you tend to start experimenting with things, and sometimes it gets carried away and to the point of no return, and, you know, a lot of us experience that. And so, yeah, I think parenting would be a good, if somebody was there to step up, and now we got to step up and be there for our kids so they don't walk the path that we walked, I guess.
That's authentic. Yeah. I'd like to acknowledge these three guys here, Tyler, Booth, and Randall. Tapue, hi man. I know these guys, they were in a bad situation, but I see these guys grow up through our culture, our Sundances, all of our ceremonies that we carry. These guys are involved. Even my buddy Pat here. We're all cultural family here. And a lot of times we ignore our culture because a lot of us carry trauma, and we don't want to go back and deal with our trauma. That's why we do these things. It's not for us. The Creator never gave us this. It was the white man that brought this to us, and we grabbed it. That's how he was going to knock us down, this moon. Wapsku Yaswa. He brought us this pain. How do we fix it? We got to teach our young people back to our old ways, our culture. That's the only, that Kagi Simun, like what you said, Donna, that was your answer, Kagi Simun. That's the only thing we have. What else do we have? Kotawi no Semantu. That's who looks after us. Look at, we have 3 examples up there. And I seen it with my own eyes, what did to you guys, you know? It transformed to you guys to a better person than what you were before. And I really love that, you know? You guys talking like this, and, you know, I got to witness this stuff. All of you guys, actually, not just them 3. You know, you guys brought us things that it's hard. Like what you guys say, it's hard to talk up there, talk about your past, your feelings, all your traumas and all that. But it's good. The best thing to do is forgive yourself. Forgive the person that hurts you. Once you do that, it's so easy. You can just walk this road so easy. This sweetgrass road we call. It doesn't matter if you pray to God in the right way, or it doesn't matter if you pray to the Creator in our way. We pray to the same God anyway. But sometimes we're built different. Sometimes God works for some people, but the Creator gave us our culture, and that's what makes us strong. And that's what this nation needs. We have to bring it home. It's like Japan.
Wapchus always used to talk about this when I was a kid. I used to hear him. I could still hear his words in my mind when I think about it. Even the past elders, we know a lot of our teachers left us. We don't have teachers anymore. It's all up to us now. And we got to bring it home for the next generation. We're the teachers now. Tante Giteak, Miss Pittiok, they're gone. Now we have to take over. Look at our sweat holders. Where are they? Our Sundance holders. We only have one Sundance now, and it's a young man sitting in front of me. There's a lot of things that we have to do as a team. The whole nation is a team. We could bring this together. Everybody, mamoga matwa, you know? That's what we need. And that's what we have to do. You know, sagit na kakyo. Sagit na mustahe. Kutawi no tsawihon. Nagsimanakas kagita gitek. That's an elder's words. Just like Joe here. Joe, when we were younger, we used to sing powwow. Growing up, Pipestone Creek, we were young. Joe used to come talk to us. We used to sing with Red Bull. You know, we took him he used to come say words to us not to do around the drum and all that. But we didn't listen, but you know, he was there to give us that advice. I still remember those, Joe. Those advice he used to give us when we were younger. Not to do drugs around the drum and all that stuff. I still remember those things. You know, it's a hard road, but we could do it. You know, a lot of us probably not sober that long. I'm just hitting 9 years sobriety myself. You know, I still feel it. But anyways, thanks. Hi. Tutoik.
Right on. Thank you. Before the next speaker, I'd like to share a little humor here. You know, like when I was drinking, I used to get drunk, no problem, because I passed out. You got it? I had no problem with alcohol. But anyway, it's been over 60 years I've been sober. You know, my late wife was a very strict Sioux lady, really. You know, a lot of times, you know, I feel like a bionic man, because one time my daughter is watching, my daddy must be a Superman or I don't know, he's probably not a human. He said, I seen my mom was just chasing him with an axe. And he hit him on the leg, he was still standing there. Even trying to run him over with a vehicle. But you know, that's called love. It's tough love. Yeah, it's called tough love. Regardless what you do, you know, to try to, you know, this is not our way. We are very blessed here. We are the very number one up here with the Creator. We are. Every one of us, just like that person there, he holds a lodge. That's awesome. I'm proud what my adopted father gave me. I got a sweat lodge. You know, I do things the way it should be. Just like sometimes when some of these elders, when they sweat, they just splash and splash. It's about 200 degrees in there, it'll burn out. That's not the way. It's a healing sweat. As long as you sweat in there, and you know, that's the way it's supposed to be. You don't burn nobody here. That's how the healing is about these lodges. Even at times, you don't have to participate, especially you, the feminine. Sometimes I can't go there because I'm on my time. However, you're human. You could go on the side. These are the things I was taught. One of the old people, he said, when you're sick, nobody shouldn't turn you away. We're entitled. You don't have to be there. You see that in the Sundance, they have these markings of these white poplar. That's where some places where women can go across, because, especially under time. However, behind the camping area, they could stay there, they could be there. It's all right, because if there's nothing wrong, we're all human, you know. Just kind of pass that in for, don't be afraid to go there. There's a lot of things here we're forbidden to do. Even at nights, we used to always tell us, don't go fool around outside, come inside, because you can't fool around out there. There's so many bad stuff, negative stuff, always, you know. So those are the things I like to share. But the thing is that what I do not every day, whenever I get a chance, I smudge. I don't even have to pray. I just think, because already the Creator knows. Regardless if you're about 10, 20 feet under earth, Creator will see you, right? That's the way it is. But anyway, I think I'm going over the board again. My gosh, my grandson is looking at me. Okay, but anyway, we'll move on. I don't know what's next in the agenda. I don't even know what that means.
Any other questions?
I have one. Actually, it was the question to a young man that was asking a question about how do we face the the aftermath of addictions and trauma. So my dad, that's his story. When my dad sobered up, it was a very scary moment between my parents, and I was about 6 or 7 years old, and my dad came home half cut, and he was out womanizing, and he just came home to give money, whatever he had, and my mom kicked him out that morning. And then my dad went walking towards her truck and opened a hood and started ripping things out of her truck. And then my mom, she started to hit him, and my mom was hitting him all the way to the wood pile, and there was an axe that was there, and my dad was on the ground, and he had his hand up, and he was screaming, and my mom was just full of rage because she was tired of my dad drinking and doing stuff. And then she took the axe, and I just closed my eyes there because I didn't want to see. And I always wondered if she used the sharp part or the dull, the other side of the axe, but she used the sharp side, and she broke my dad's leg. And my dad didn't charge my mom. My mom drove my dad to the hospital, and he came home with a cast. A year later, both my parents, they were graduating from Nietzsche Institute. And going through that, they learned how to debrief us, and I grew up to understand because they debriefed us right away. They didn't let the problems get worse where I would become an addict, with alcohol or cocaine or anything like that. So that was something that helped both my parents, because both of them graduated from Nietzsche Institute a year later. That's the solution. It's grassroots. They have that at Nietzsche when you go for Nietzsche training.
Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Hello, my name is Alexi. I just want to say thank you guys for coming out and sharing your stories. I know that's very vulnerable for you guys to do that, but I really appreciate it because you guys are like a beacon of light in a dark place, and you give hope for those that I wouldn't say I'm not struggling with it, but I know somebody that is. And my question is, how can someone support a loved one who's still struggling with addiction without enabling them?
For me, my daughter and both of my daughters, my oldest daughter that I lost, I tried my hardest to help her to stay sober. She has 2 babies. She left behind 2 babies, and I tried my hardest to help her without enabling her, and that was not supporting her habit, not taking her to the liquor store or anywhere that sold alcohol. I tried stopping her from hanging out with friends, but none of that stuff happened. Her boyfriend, her partner at the time, which I didn't know every time they went to Lloyd, he was feeding her alcohol. She'd come home drunk or half shot, and then she'd start beating up on her boyfriend, and it would be in front of the kids and everything like that. So there's really nothing you can do but to love them. Don't give up on them. Tell them you love them. And they're not gonna stop like right away. It's their choice. They have to want to stop. Having kids for my daughter, because she grew up around it, I showed her everything. And her having her own kids didn't even stop her. So all you gotta do is just be there, be supportive, as hard as it gets, because it was hell for me to watch my daughter go through all that. And that's what I could say right now, is just support them, love them, take them to meetings, ceremonies, but out of reality, it's their choice. They have to want it in order to stop. Because alcohol and drugs is cunning, baffling, and controlling. So that's what I can share.
For me, I have loved ones who are still struggling with addiction, siblings, nieces and nephews, aunts and uncles. And when I first got into recovery, I tried to save everybody that I could, tried to convince them to come to meetings or sign up for sober living, and it just didn't work out the way I wanted to, because I'm not in control of other people's actions. And I learned that all I can do is lead by example. And from time to time, I have conversations with my family. And when they talk about wanting to change their ways or ask how I did it, all I could do is give them suggestions. And it's up to them to take those suggestions and put them into action. It is heartbreaking to see them continue on with that life, but I can't save them. All I could do is pray for them and be there for them when they reach out. Next question.
Danse. I guess it's for me. Te piano te atsumostata kit ko iki ko tansinis te gi basic ne matsun. I just want to share a little bit about what I went through in my own life and how things happened for me and my sons. I had to, once I went through my healing in 1996, 29 years ago, last time I ever did drugs, marijuana. And I must have put my sons through a lot. I had to apologize to them for what I put them through. First thing I wanted to do is, I wanted to make sure the things I must have messed up on and what I missed out on for my sons. The intergenerational trauma, my parents didn't bring smudge home. We didn't smudge at home. My sisters know that. We didn't have ceremonies to go to. Negawi Nan took us to chicken dances, but she didn't bring us up to get our Cree name. when I first went through rehab, 2 rehabs I went through in my time, Mista. How many interval homes? My son, sige wapati hakik interval homes. We saw the Blue Jays playing their series and winning that. Lloydminster interval home. Hikik the Maigo Yaman went through abuse. And kind of hard to talk about. But first thing I did when I became to know who I am, take my oldest son to get his Cree name. I owed it to him. I owed it to my sons. Next one was Aaron, late son. Then my youngest son. Then after that, I took myself to get my Cree name. We needed our guiding spirit name, Kaitwe. And knowing about medicine wheel teachings, yellow. Kapewasinako. That was the new beginnings in our life. That's what yellow means to me, a new beginning in my life, in our life. I'm so proud of my sons. Manitu, I always wonder, why do I have sons, grandsons? 11 grandsons. Nesto napio kupige hakik. Manitu has a plan for us. Creator has a plan for how things turn out in our life. So good to see all you young men here, because it seems like I have a connection with Tyler, Brian, Lecky. I don't even know who you are. I just used to hear your bad name kind of thing. Magaut stoisakita kok Randall, Deborah, Mike, my son here, Don. I'm proud of him. I had him when I was 18, single, and 17 and pregnant at one time. I made that drift between him and his dad. Didn't want him to. I'd walk out the back door with my son when his dad wanted to see him. So I had to apologize to him this year. I think that was in March. I apologized to my son. I made that drift. I created that far apart for him and his dad, which maybe, I wonder if it was for the better or for whatever. But I need new beginnings in my own life. And when I take a cloth to a ceremony, a Sundance, someplace like that, and I often tell our people, taking a cloth offering, make sure new beginnings in Tuitamani in your life, make it a yellow cloth. Parenting for guidance. It's like the spirit world. There's people waiting there, which I've explained to my sons. Like my late son is probably sitting there waiting for me to take a cloth for him, to take a cloth to a ceremony. He'll adorn in that cloth. He'll take that cloth and wrap it around his neck. Now he gets called up to come and pray for me and my family, my sons, grandsons. I'm so grateful that I have a higher power who listened to me in my time of need. I'm grateful for life, family around me. I made a commitment. My vision board says, this year, my vision board says, I am here for the year of my children, my grandchildren. That's what I stick to. Vision boards become reality. And I'm so grateful Nanasko mo ang tipya kami witamatak. Continue healing, continue your one day at a time. That's what I'm doing. I continue my one day at a time. I gotta forgive myself too. Imagine if Pitugahak interval home, they had no plan where I took them. I only wanted safety for myself because I didn't want to die. I didn't want to lose my life because that's what was threatened to me. Yung paigo yan. So be mindful what we do. I'm mindful what I do today and now. And I know I've hurt people before, but I gotta keep going. I'm 66 years old, thankful for my life. I made it this far. That's all I wanted to say. Hi.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or comments from the, okay.
I just wanted to say, it's not really a question, but what Lexi was saying, you guys are a really big inspiration, and not just for people who are in addictions, but for people who have kids, and who are affected by it. You guys are we see the change, and it gives us hope, because we have a lot of people have parents in addictions or people they love, and you guys are a start, and that really says a lot. So thank you guys for being here and being sober, being present. It inspires a lot of people. Thank you.
Thank you. There's another question there. Yeah.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you for sharing your testimonies, not stories, but your truth. And I thank you for that. And I thank you for those that spoke and provided questions to you. I just wanted to know, so at some point in our lives, and probably in yours, I don't know, where there was a disconnect. So there was a disconnect between you and your parent or your caregiver or there was a disconnect. So somewhere along the line, you weren't able to go to that person that you should have been able to go to for help. So there was a disconnect, right? And that's probably common with a lot of people. And then so now, as adults, and most of you probably have children. I know, Joe, you have grandchildren. Some of you might have grandchildren. But what do you do now to ensure that your children or your grandchildren go to you whenever they need help, that there's no disconnect? What do you do to ensure that they go to you, right?
Hello. Yeah, for me, I try to have heart-to-hearts with my kids whenever we're alone. The best time I do it is when we're driving. It's just me and my kid. We're just talking. So how is school? How is life? How is everything? And we just talk. That's how we bond. And I do that to each one of my kids, even my baby. I'll do that with her. We're just driving. Sometimes we'll argue. Sometimes we'll, and that's how we do it anyways. That's how I do it. I try to talk to them when we're alone. When we're alone. That's the best time for me anyways, to talk to my kids separately. And they open up to me. They actually do. They're not afraid to phone me. Hey, Dad, I got a problem. All right, then we'll talk it through it. Think about it. I tell them, take your time. This is a small problem. You just turned it into a big problem in your head, right? So work through it, find solutions. If that solution doesn't work, go on to the next solution. If that one doesn't work, go on to the next solution. That's how I help them out. And it works. And I'm happy that they come to me for help now. It wasn't always like that, but I had to grow that relationship with my kids. Yeah.
For myself, I'll tell you, I could still remember that when I made that effort to make that change, to be there. You know, there was a lot of anger from my teenage sons, where they were always mad at me and stuff like that. And I sat down with them. I said, you know what? You guys are mad at me for, you know, for not being a good dad. This is my first time being a dad, you know, and I don't know how to be a dad, you know, like dad wasn't there. So it's my first time, I'm learning how to be a dad, and your guys' first time having a dad. So let's work through it together, you know, and that was, it'd be a few years ago now. It was in one of those little points where there was an effort made to change my life around. But I mean, like, I still remember that, you know, there was a lot of anger and stuff like that going around in the house, and there was arguing, but I, you know, like, I had to change, and, you know, like, who better to lead them into that conversation than me, because I know they wouldn't have led me into that conversation. But then, I mean, like, and then going to this day now, it's like, ever since that conversation, it's making them know and continually keeping them aware that I'm there for them to talk to. It's not only tell them once, 5, 6, 7 years ago or whatever that was, and then never say it again. It's like every week, you know, it's like every week, hey, how you guys doing, you know? Even though every once in a while, you know, grouchy or don't agree on anything, but then you talk it through, and, you know, I tell them every time, you know, like, just don't be afraid to talk to me, and don't be afraid to tell me anything, you know? I never had that support, so I want to be that support for my kids. So that's where I sit on that.
For me, like what I mentioned before, I used social media, and when I used it, I just left just positive feeds, right? And that's how I felt was useful when I had that disconnect from my kids, right? And I knew my kids were at a young age when they had Facebook, so I didn't know what Facebook was, but I know it's a way of communication, right? So that's what I used, was social media, and I put my work on there, I put my homework on there, and when the jobs came, I would put my job on there.
For myself, I didn't have a connection with my kids. I didn't when I was younger with my mom. I don't even know my dad, but I just know him by name. But when I started being in my kids' lives, they couldn't trust me. They couldn't talk to me. They always said that I was very judgmental. So I had to continue. I had to do pep talks with myself. Like, I talk to myself a lot. So I had to tell myself, like, keep it cool. Like, you are so aggressive. You need to chill with your kids. Me and my daughter, Tiana, we used to butt heads all the time. She used to tell me that, well, what do you know? You weren't in my life. You don't know nothing. Why should I come to you? Why should I trust you? I'll look at all the stuff that you taught me. And now with my second oldest, Lexine, she doesn't come to me because I'm too judgmental. And I started seeing that within myself, that I was very judgmental, and I used to attack them or make fun of them. And then so I had to grow a bond with her. We went for drives. She'd come into my room. She started coming into my room like when she wanted to talk to me. And then you could just see that scaredness in her. She'd be like, can we talk? She was like, I don't know if I should tell you. How can I tell you? How can I say this to you? I'm like, just tell me. I'm better now. Like I'm worked on my stuff. I want to listen to understand, not listen to reply quick. Because that was the relationship. Because I was not my kid's parent. I was their friend when I first got them back. So they thought that it was going to continue being like that. And then so we grew this trust, and then honesty came, and then being more relaxed around me instead of thinking, like my kids walked on eggshells around me because I was a ticking time bomb, right? So now with my baby, my son, he just comes to me about everything and anything. Like he'll message me, we'll go for drives, or he'll come in my room, or I go into his room, and he's like, Mom, what do you think of this? So it's pretty much like just being able to let your guard down with whatever they come to you with. And me and my son have an amazing relationship. He comes to me about everything and anything now. So I really had to work on my own stuff and tame myself so they can come to me. And my Lexi, she always has her guards up, and then she'll put them down. And then they say that I have this look where I'm not approachable. And then right there and then they'll just back off, and I'll be like, what's going on? Hey, come here, what are we gonna say? And they look at me and they're like, I don't know if I can tell you. I'm like, why not? Because you have that look. I was like, what look? And then she was like, right there. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, do you want to talk? I was like, let's talk. Or sometimes I even cook with them. And I don't know, I had to learn how to be patient and be calm instead of attacking. Because growing that parent and child relationship was really hard. Because I know I did wrong by being their friend instead of their mother. If that answers your question. Any more questions?
Hello.
Hello.
I'm so proud of you guys. You have no idea. You know, you guys are living proof that addictions don't discriminate, right? And your guys' past definitely doesn't define you. And so, yeah, I'm very proud to be able to come and sit here and listen to you guys today. So I guess I kind of have two questions. I know in the trenches of addiction, it's pretty hard to have goals and aspirations and that, right? When your whole life is getting and using and finding ways and means to get more. And so I'm really curious, what is your biggest accomplishment that you've had in your recovery to this day, and what's one of your biggest goals for your future?
For me, I guess one of the biggest goals I had for a long time was welding since high school. My older brother was a welder, and I just wanted to check it out. I ended up getting into welding a little bit here and there, and I have a passion for it. You know, I like seeing the finished product of working with my hands. And when I first started sobering up, I pursued that, and I got the ball rolling on that, and ended up relapsing a couple times after that, and ended up picking it back up. So still, it feels rewarding to still pursue that dream, even though it's been years since like my mid-teens. It's like 20 years working on a dream, but I've never given up on it. And still, every day, like I wake up somewhere between 5:15 and 5:45 and get ready and drive to Lloyd and go work and work on my craft so I could get better at it. And it's just that's what keeps me going, you know. I have kids to support, stepkids, and my fiance there, and it just feels so rewarding to be that provider and chasing my dream at the same time. Growing up, I didn't have a father figure in the home. I just had my mom. She was a single parent, but she was addicted to gambling. She didn't drink or do drugs, but she was addicted to gambling, and it just sometimes funds got tight, and so did food. And it's just, I just work hard every day because I don't ever want my kids to experience what I experienced. I grew up in a very loving home, but I felt there was neglect there, and things could have been better, but it is what it is, and I've just learned from that, and not gonna stop chasing my dreams. So yeah.
For me, for a biggest accomplishment for me would be, you know, making a life change and being committed to it. That's a really huge accomplishment that I like, you know, like, I don't really feel it's that big of an accomplishment, but like I could see that it is a huge accomplishment. And for a goal is like in the future, or even from right now on, going forward, just to be an inspiration and advocate for change. That's my goal.
Thank you. But anyway, you know, in situations like this, it's very intense, you know. So we always need an icebreaker. You know, one of my adopted brothers from Mosquito, he was walking down there on the street in North Battleford. We're standing there, all of a sudden, a whole bunch of kids came running from nowhere. And they called, "Father, Father!" And these white folks said, "Geez, I wonder if it sees a priest." All this time it was my brother's kids.
If there's no more questions, I think we'll just finish off these. Is there any more questions? Anybody? Going once, going twice? I know you guys are all here for the door prizes.
It's not a question, it's more of a compliment to the speakers that came out. That was really good stories from each one of you. It was all different energy and different healings, and it just made me feel really emotional in a good way. And then the people asking questions, and you know, we all got similar barriers, but we're coming together and finding solutions. And this is a very powerful ceremony, it feels like, and it's magical, and hi for everybody coming out. And I also want to give a shout out to 7 Gen. They do a lot. Okay, so camera 1, let's go to camera 2. Stand up, wave to camera 1. And this is our Onion Lake youths, young people, and they make me proud because they set all this up, all the cameras, all the audio. I'm very proud. I'm also from Onion Lake, but just not registered, you know, spiritually from here. Hi.
Thank you very much to my grandson.
So most of the questions that I wanted to ask were asked, but I do have one. I teach grade 7, and a lot of my students are, I know that they're already dabbling in drugs, right? And a lot of times it's like, me being blunt, it's like, hey, don't do that again, like that, right? Because you hear them talking about it. And so I don't know how can I say it better where maybe they'll understand or they'll
see that I'm doing it because I care about them, not because I'm a teacher. Make sense?
I would approach it and like ask them how does it make them feel, like what's going on at home for them to steer that way. Because as for me, I wish a teacher or like any of my foster parents, because I know you were one of my foster parents, would ask me like, how do you feel? Like, what's going on with you? Like you know, just like soft tone, not like, what the hell's wrong with you? Why do you feel like that? Like just a soft tone, right? So because I never got that approach, and like coming from that lifestyle and coming from like how I grew up, maybe it would have made me be more, I'd be able to trust people. I'd be able to feel that love that was given to me, or like that caring at least. And just being soft spoken, or like just ask them like, what's wrong? Why, like not what's wrong, but like, how does it make you feel? Like what's going on with you? Or like just ask them questions, not just like how you approached it. But then you know what, if you approached me like that, and I was in 7th grade, I'd be like looking at you, I was like, what do you care? So why are you even asking? You're just my teacher. And like, you know, because there's a lot of kids that are not only in our reserve, everywhere else, where they don't have that love and care, you know what I mean? And like for my nieces are in the back there. I talk to them, I ask them, oh, what's wrong? Why do you feel like that? What's going on? What are you thinking about? And then they talk to me, they tell me, like, Isabel, like, you can tell when something's going on in her head. And then I just sit beside her, or I look at her and I'll be like, hi baby. And she'll look at me and she'll be like, hi. I was like, oh, what's wrong? Why you look so sad? And then she'll tell me. But then some kids are very closed off. So that's the best I could answer it. Anybody else? You guys just want to go home? Because you guys got paid?
Well, I think there's no more questions. As there are no more. We did some draws here. We did. I had my trusty young sidekick here, Joseph Cackham, another guy that's come a long ways. He did some draws. Joseph, you want to grab that one there, and then you say the name of him?
Daniel Wasatheo. I don't know how to say. How you say this? Wasatheo. Daniel.
Let me see that. Wasatheo. I don't know. Huh? Wasatheo. And then the next one right here.
Ralph Chief.
Come on down, you're the next contestant, Don.
Next one. Daniel Mountain. Here you go. Next we got Phyllis Buffalo. And for the JBL headphones, we have Heather Whitstone.
Congrats.
And for the 40-inch TV, we have Shelby Chief.
Congrats.
For the people that weren't in attendance, I wonder if we should do a redraw. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Redraw? Since you guys are hanging on real, like good citizens. There. Let's go with this one first. Who is it?
EBG, Emery Burning.
EBG gets a 20-inch light-up foosball table. Oos.
Congrats, Don.
Foosball tournament at EBG's. Okay, next one. Epic headphones.
Carmi Belly.
Carmi, are you here, Carmi? Oh, she must have went for a smoke. She left. Already gone? Where? Carmi. Oh, no. Congratulations. Okay, next one. I don't hear her running in.
Marlon Carter.
Who's Marlon? Who's Marlon? You're not Marlon. You're Tyrell. Hey. Marlon Carter. Marlon Carter. No? Going once, going twice. Oh. Oh, wait. Marilyn Carter. Is it Marilyn? Do you spell your name like that? Mary Wynn. Yeah. That could be you. I didn't see a Marilyn Carter in here. I don't know. Did you write Marilyn or Mary Wynn? Doorman. Yeah, it's yours. Okay. You're welcome. Congratulations. Last one.
Sandra Wolf, or Sandra. Sandra.
Sandra? Hey. Sandra Wolf. Sandri. Who done? We need a new writer at the door.
Ryder Smith.
Ryder Smith. Hey. Right on. Congratulations. That's going to conclude our evening, everybody. You know, I want to thank everybody for coming out and participating. You know, it really means a lot to me that you guys showed up. So I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And let's do something to spread the word, get the awareness out there. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody up here on the table. You guys did awesome.
Night,
You guys were
y'all.
great.